Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast, where I give you practical Stoic advice for modern times. You can support the show by going to patreon.com/Simon Drew. I also do one-on-one mindset coaching, and you can book in your first free consultation by going to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching. On Facebook, you can join my group, the Practical Stoic Mastermind. But for now, enjoy this episode. Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast. I was recently reading through Ward Farnsworth's book, The Practicing Stoic, and in the chapter on virtue, there's a wonderful section about honesty, where Ward shares some really insightful quotes from the Stoics, which can give us a great template for how we should be living our lives. So in this episode, I'd like to use a couple of those quotes and a few others to hopefully compel you towards living a more virtuous and fulfilling life. But first, I wanted to mention that the greatest seminar that I ever attended was one by Eric Thomas in the Brisbane City Hall on my 20th birthday. Many of you will know this. And something that he taught in that lecture was that true happiness and contentment can only come about when we decide to live 100% true to the values that we say that we hold. There is no middle ground. We need to either be who we say we are, or we can't really be fulfilled. This lesson stuck with me because I realized that so much of who I thought I was and who I said I was actually a lie. And I saw that I was not living true to my values. I can now see that the closer I get to living a more disciplined and truthful life, the happier I am. And today's advice from the Stoics is along similar lines. Most of us wander through life pretending to be one person but acting as another. This is not only not ideal, but it's also detrimental to our mental fortitude and happiness. So let's start by taking some advice from Seneca, who said, quote, "We should live our life as if we were in public view, and think, too, as if someone could peer into the inmost recesses of our hearts." End quote. This advice is needed now more than ever, seeing as with social media, most of us have our public persona and then our private persona. We have public habits and then we have our private habits. What Seneca would advise is that if we want to be happy and virtuous, then we should live our lives as if everybody is seeing everything that we are doing. And if I wanted to make you a little bit uncomfortable, I might ask you to think about all of your habits that you would immediately give up if you knew that people could see you doing them. Which leads me to my next quote, which is from Epictetus, who said, quote, "Let nothing be done in your life that will cause you to fear if it is discovered by your neighbor." End quote. How many decisions do you make on a daily basis that you would rather be kept secret from your friends and family? How many times do you look around the corner to see if anybody's watching? This is a sign of a fearful state, and a life of fear is a poor life. When you are able to live your life unapologetically and openly, you'll realize just how much freedom and courage you can have. Fear is a form of slavery, and discipline and resolve are the only antidotes. You may have also heard of the Stoic idea of never doing anything that would require walls or curtains to hide behind. And this comes from a quote from Seneca, where he said, quote, "Count yourself as really happy when you're able to live in public, when your walls protect rather than hide you. Though for the most part we regard our walls as around us not so that we may live more safely, but so that we may sin more privately. I'll tell you a fact by which you can judge our conduct. You will scarcely find anyone who could live with his door open." End quote. Have you ever closed the curtains because you didn't want people to see what you're about to do? And moving into the modern age, Seneca may have asked you if you've ever put the private browsing mode on your internet browser. Have you ever looked around the corner to make sure that nobody's coming? These are surefire signs that you're living a life of fear, and that your actions are far from virtuous. This passage from Seneca offers us a guide for our actions. Every time you're about to do something, think to yourself, can I do this with a metaphorical open door to the world? Or is this something that I would only do in private? If the answer is the latter, then you probably shouldn't do it. And of course there are some things which we would prefer to do behind walls or behind closed curtains, if only out of respect for the people who may see what we're doing. For example, the average person wouldn't wish to leave their sexual activities open to their neighbour's viewing, and I'll leave these things up to your own sound judgment, and hopefully you'll be able to decide what is appropriate. But moving on, I wanted to talk not only about our actions being in public view, but also our thoughts. See, our thoughts may not seem like much, but they are the seeds that grow into actions. Every single thought has the potential to lead to an action, and so we need to be extremely careful with what we're thinking about. Of course, not every thought will lead to an action, but nonetheless the seed has still been planted, and the time and mental energy that you give to that thought will determine how soon it will come to fruition. Marcus Aurelius suggested that our thoughts should, just like our actions, be regulated as if someone could see them at any time. He said, quote, "A person should accustom himself to think only those things about which, if someone should suddenly ask, 'What are you thinking about?' he might answer this and that, frankly and without hesitation." End quote. Let's think for a moment about the things that you think. Think about the subjects you daydream about. And while you're thinking about that, imagine if those thoughts were open to the world to see at any moment. Would you be proud? Would you be okay with people seeing those thoughts? Or would you be ashamed and disappointed with yourself? Marcus Aurelius would advise us to regulate our thoughts in such a way that we are happy to speak about what we're thinking about at any time. And so I want to offer you a challenge. Over the next week, I want you to set an alarm on your phone for every single hour from when you wake up to when you go to bed. I then want you to start a tally with 2 possible outcomes of positive or negative. Each time the alarm goes off, I want you to pay attention to what you are thinking about and what you are doing. If you would gladly share what you are thinking about with the world, then that will earn you a point in the positive tally. And if your actions at the time of the alarm were such that you would be happy for people to see them, then you can also earn another point for the positive tally. However, if you would prefer to have kept your thoughts or actions secret, then you'll get a point for each in the negative tally. I'll let you discern between good secrets and bad secrets. For example, if you're keeping a secret about a surprise birthday party, then that's fine. The point of this exercise is to teach you about yourself, and then to help you to live a more virtuous life. Remember that it's not what you do in public that determines the kind of person who you are, but rather it's what you do when nobody is watching. Your thoughts and actions when nobody can see will be your ultimate test of character. And I want to encourage you to take these pieces of advice from the Stoics and slowly move your life to a more public view, if only metaphorically. I'll talk to you next time, but until then, I hope that this episode has helped you on your rise to the good life. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practical Stoic Podcast. I hope it's been valuable for you, and if you'd like to support the show, then you can go to patreon.com/Simon Drew. If you'd like to try mindset coaching with me, then you can book your first free consultation by going to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching. To join the community, just go to Facebook and search for the Practical Stoic Mastermind. The links to all of these places are included in the show notes, but for now, this is Simon Drew signing out.